Okay, great. So hi, everybody. It's Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 24th, 2022. It is Lamed Heshvan, Rosh Chodesh Kislev, Hatafshin Pei Gimel, right? 5783. I'm Riva Muna. We're live in Rebecca's beautiful home in Tzfat. So we are doing Kislev / Hanukkah. This is actually the second Kislev class. I wanted to just begin by a couple of things I left out in class 1. I forgot to mention that the tribe is Binyamin, and the symbol of Binyamin is the wolf, right? Binyamin Zev. Now, whenever we want to know about the tribe, we go back to Jacob, Yaakov's blessing, and that is the mahut, or the essential energy of that tribe, and their animal is going to encapsulate their essential energy. So remembering that Binyamin is also where the Kodesh Kadoshim was located, the Holy of Holies. So again, tying it into the Hanukkah story, again, tying it into our insides and connecting the insides with the outsides, right? Again, coming back into wholeness with ourselves, right? Re-sanctifying the sanctuary, right? Sorry, I have to, I'm gonna close this, sorry. I love the air, but I can't hear. Or I hear too well, maybe. That's a meditation. There is a beautiful song, if someone could put it on the chat. It's sung by one of my favorite a cappella groups. They're called Beautiful Chorus. Love them so much. And they have a song that all of the parshas of the Mishkan, but also it's really a Hanukkah song, right? And just really fast, right? It just goes, please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. That's the hood. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. It's such a beautiful encapsulating kavanah, right? Intention of this new way of relationshiping with our body. I'm not an object, I'm not a sex symbol, I'm not a floating soul. Right? I am a sanctuary. And just as in the Mishkan, every physical detail mattered, the gold and the copper and the brass and the wood and the placement of everything, right, to allow optimum connection and flow. That's also my body, to allow optimum connection and flow. I do want to let you all know we initiated Hanukkah Bayit last week of a woman's course, Tikkun HaKlali and Tikkun HaBrit for the feminine, to begin to really dive into the feminine healing of our connection with sexuality in our own being and as partners, lovers, mothers, wives.
What's it based on?
Everything. It's just like everything. It's just combining all these teachings, and we've been sitting on this for years and doing some private stuff, and women have been asking for it for years, but it just wasn't Ready? And here it is. Okay, so that's something that we have to talk about after. I was like spontaneously, there was so much happening last week that was like, oh, here it comes. Okay. So we're definitely going to look at them, Binyamin, as the wounded and wounding wolf, and the holy and whole. I want to be careful when I say holy, because we don't want to holy it out of connection to wholeness, right? We can get holy where we're like out of our body and we're a floating soul. Like when we say holy here, we want shlemut, wholeness, right?
And known as the wounded what?
Wolf, Zev, right? He's called Binyamin Zev, right? And we're going to look at a little bit. He has a flip. He has a name change. He lands on the planet, and his mother names him Ben Oni, the son of my suffering, the son of my impoverished state of consciousness. And his father, this is all very important, where he's holding with the feminine, where he's holding with the masculine, his healing and how his healing comes about. So his father changes the name and says, no, not Ben Oni, Benyamin, right? So not, this is the son of my Oni as in Aniut, right? As my diminishment, my poverty, my impoverished, it's my state of feeling poor, diminished, right? And suffering. And his father's like, it reminds me a little bit of like Sleeping Beauty. And she comes and then Maleficent gives like the curse, and then the good fairy's like, no, you won't die. You'll just prick your finger and fall asleep right? That's there's just Hamtaka where Yaakov comes in and says, no, not Ben Oni, Benyamin. By Yamin, God bless you, we mean the direction of south. And south in Kabbalah is Chesed.
South?
South is Chesed. Yeah, north is Gvura.
That's his name.
Son of the south, son of Chesed, son of the right.
Face and what? The only is the fact that he has no mother.
Yes, he's holding both energies. In other words, he has two names. So he has two vibrations and two experiences. And he has an experience of the feminine, of being Oni, an experience of the masculine as being a chesed.
Oh, wow.
Right?
So why only the feminine here?
So we're going to explore Binyamin as the sexual predator wolf. And the story of Pilegish Begiva, right? Of the it's in Shoftim and Judges, right? And how a whole group of men from Shevet Binyamin raped a concubine of Pilegish from Shevet Levi. It's a horrible story, but it's our history, and it's an important story. And yet remember that the Kodesh Kadoshim is in the Nachala Binyamin. We want to always remember the deepest wound and the deepest fixing is often found in the same place and often found in the same person. Right? A master pet predator and a master of wholeness and intimacy. Now, isn't that a lot of hope? That's the underlying quality of Kislev, is hope. That is a lot of healing. Remember also that the Kohanim are the healers. All of the Kohanim, right, are healers. How do we know? Because they diagnose what is off, not physically, what is spiritually off. And they use physical means, right? But they're checking what's going on with the person's neshama. How do we know? because the Kohen sets reality. Let's say that again. The Kohen defines reality. Reality never defines the Kohen. The Kohen defines reality. If the Kohen says tahor, the person's tahor. If the Kohen says not tahor, the person's not tahor. Right? The Kohen defines reality. The Kohen gets a sense of the wholeness or brokenness of the person, what they need. They're always about restoring wholeness. They receive our karbanot from the word lekarev, to bring us back into closeness and connection. Everything they're doing is to bring us back into what? The circle. Right? The circle, right? The wholeness. In a circle, everybody has beauty. Everybody has value. It's not linear. There's no hierarchy, right? You take one point out of the circle, it breaks the circle. Right? So we want to remember that they're the healers. Right? They prescribe, right? They need to go out of the circle, out of the machane, leave the circle, get healed, and then you can rejoin the circle. Right? And by the way, in order to teach really that, you have to know it. So Miriam gets sent out of the circle. Right? Again, this is what we're talking about at the level of Torah, of nikneh, of when you own Torah. You don't know it up here. You own it in your bones because you lived it. And you died over it, and you were reborn over it, and you sweated over it, and you cried over it. Right? Those are the Torahs that you own. Okay, so, and we forgot to say something, the number 8, and we said that a little bit. So yes, so we'll do a lot, please God, over around the wolf. There are body systems that are connected to the snake, to the wolf, to the lion, to the ox. Okay, so we'll explore more around that. In Chabad Chassidut, which is really its roots are in Kabbalah. So Rav Ginsburg teaches that there's 3 primal fears, and each one is connected to an animal, and each one is connected to an energy within Am Yisrael. Right? There's the lion, and that's the fear of murder, being devoured, consumed. There's the snake, which is the fear of going crazy or mental illness or losing our mind. And there's the wolf, which is the fear of rape or being sexually assaulted.
So there's 3 fears.
3 primal core fears, right, that we need to work through. And
Snake is the fear.
going crazy or mental illness, losing our mind. And we all fall out for different various reasons, more or less on the spectrum of these things. Murder, being consumed, being devoured.
Or they all survive on different.
They're so and we'll just say they're all deeply connected to birthing Mashiach, the fixing of all of those things, right? They're all ways of fracturing. Murder is to separate the body and the soul. Sexual assault is to separate the body and the soul. Going crazy is, to separate the body and
And that was-
fracturing.
That was the original problem with Chava, with the Nachash,
Exactly.
the violation of mental wholeness. So-
Yes. So one thing we didn't also finish, I'm sorry, I'm being a little curt, but
Mhm.
they have a time schedule and I want to be a little more focused this time. Forgive me if it feels harsh. And if anybody has questions, write down your questions and ask me after. So, 1 second, let me just plug back in. So we didn't answer from last time about, is it Nissan or is it Tishrei, right? So one of the ways that our Holy Masters resolve it is everything in Tishrei, we said light, right? And we said Nisan vessels. But another way we could say that is everything that was happening in Tishrei, this is really profound, is happening on the level of our mind. Rosh Hashanah is happening on the level of our mind. It's all happening on the level of projecting a new year, right? We're not living the new year yet. It's all happening on the level of our mind. And the work of Rosh Hashanah is to keep our mind, right, hopeful and harmonious, and right, because it all flows out from there. Right? Whereas in Nisan, we begin to work with things in physical reality. Right? But everything always begins, is born first on the level of infinite light, and as it makes contact with the vessel, Keter, right? Right? And begins to go through a journey of form. Okay. So the other thing I forgot to put into our notes is
Oh.
No, it's not.
It's supposed to be like that.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
okay.
how you open it.
Sorry.
We were trying to open it, that's good. That's kind of loud, it's just like so hard.
yeah, no, it's okay. I don't mind the noise. I'll just talk louder. No, I'm also feeling not hot, but like I need like air.
Yeah.
That's why I live inside. Okay. So I have a few words that just like a stream for all of you to help you ground more. Kislev, like the teacher, truth seeker, explorer, traveler, adventurer, strong intuition, knowledge of the universe. I'm saying it fast on purpose. It's all in the recording. Deep desire to continually learn and expand their mind. That's you. Right. Someone who shows the world that there's so much more, always there's so much more, and inspires others to reach for more, go wider, go deeper. Some
the qualities of
Kislev, yeah, some shadow work in Kislev. We don't want to be very blunt. Communication can be a quality of Sagittarius. I've never experienced that with you. You have other
I'm saying like.
you have other
Yeah.
things in your chart. There can be an obsession with freedom. So and again, the inability to land, commit, and
No way.
and root. I know that totally doesn't apply to you. Again, like we want to. There can be a quality of extremism, especially around. Again, you don't have this around religion and philosophy, right? But we call it in Hebrew kitzoni. Right? It can have a quality of like. That's why again we want to be careful with like radical. Again, it's a little funny and counterintuitive because the Maccabim were totally radical. Mila Shambelai, right? But again, that we call that Et Ratzon Hashem, right? That sometimes a radical response is needed when the system is so whacked out radically, and it takes a radical response, like Pinchas, who's called the Ish Shalom, right? He gets a breach Shalom. The breach Shalom is going to show up again and again and again in Kislev, because that is Kahuna. Remember, Pinchas is a Kohen, and Pinchas is the descendant of Aaron a Kohen and Eliyahu a Navi, right? So there's a quality that's needed in the world of compassionate, honoring, relationshiping. And without that, everything is thrown out of balance. And sometimes there has to be like the Kohanim, right? We can't decide this, to be clear, don't try this in a home, right? But a radical resetting to come back into harmony and wholeness, right? Particularly in states where people are preying off of one another, right? There was something I experienced. I felt like it's good to put into the map. We did speak a little bit about Chanukah Chinuch, right, as being activating the lights and the vessels. And something that I wanted to put into the map is I'm experiencing this myself last night and today. what happens when the light lands in our vessel. And I'm noticing for myself, it's like hope, joy, fear, newness, unsure, right? Like, can I exhale and relax into all this new light? Feels very unfamiliar, you know? And what happens to our mind? And I think it's really compassionate of Hillel to and by the way, that's also their approach to Geula. We want light on the level of a blast of light. We think we do. We're not so sure. Or is it Kima Kima, right? Kima Kima is a beautiful Torah teaching. By the way, there's a beautiful song from one of my favorite Israeli singers who's actually American, Benny Landau. And he has a song called Kima Kima. Kima Kima, I in my head, I don't know if it's true, but I imagine the conversation taking place over these mountains because it's a conversation from Torah. But the two, I think it was Tanaim were having a discussion. And the one says to the other, you see how the sun is rising, that it's one ray of light, and then another ray of light, and then another ray. He says, that's how Geula is going to happen. Kima Kima, right? He says, that's what it looks like. It's no Kima Kima. It's Aramaic. So it's Kuf Mem Ayin Hey or Aleph Hey. Kima Kima, right? Like it's Kimat. Yeah, and it's Perush and the Akleat. Kima Kima, right? One ray and another ray and another ray, right? Kima Kima. And he sings it so beautifully, like Kima Kima. Look on YouTube. It's Benny Landau. Kima Kima. So I must put it on the chat, right? And it's I wanted to say something really like so we said it a little bit last night, but we talked about last night putting your eye against a keyhole or putting your eye against a line in the door, a crack in the door, or putting your eye against a circle. You see a lot more of what's happening, what's going on, right? Okay, good. Yeah, good. Okay, good. So here we are. And
Question. When we talk about receiving light, we're not only talking about it in the level of like good or like light, joy, goodness, all in the positive direction. It's just sensation, the cloud, no? And then seeing all sensation or energy flow as neutral, but like light being energy flow, no? With the flow of energy.
wonderful. That's such a wonderful question. Such a wonderful question. Hold on a second. Well, yes, in the sense of consciousness, right? It's always being more conscious of what's happening in the space. So that on that level, yes, it's more conscious of everything, right? It's definitely more awake, more aware, more conscious. And yet I would really want to stress this smicha, right? Reb Ginsburg teaches that this samech represents the wedding ring. And the wedding ring we call the ot brit, the sign of a brit. Because again, it's the upper half and the lower half, which are really one continuous thing. So he teaches about and he speaks about, we call the rainbow an ot brit. Remember? Yeah. And it's happening right now. In other words, on the 27th of Kislev, right? Hashem is going to make renew his brit with us. And what is the brit? The brit essentially is I what's the bracha, right? The bracha we say to Hashem is Zocher Habrit. You remember that we recontracted. And and then the recontracting is to add more compassion in, to add more rachamim in, this way and this way, right? Because this way it had gotten completely out of control, right? And Dor Hamabel. It was just totally consumptive, which is again what we're talking about in Kislev, the fires, devouring fire, not a warming fire, right? But a devouring fire, right? Wait, sorry, I was making all that. And we call Shabbos an Otbrit, because Shabbos is the circle at the center of the week. So all of these qualities of when we say circle, Brit, Ot, relationship, contract, they're all going to be about restoring wholeness and peace, because the word in Hebrew, right, Shabbat Shalom is peace, but it also means wholeness, shlemut. So we're learning that if we want a peaceful mind and peaceful heart, that's going to be connected to having peaceful eating, peaceful relationship with our body, peaceful relationship to sexuality, and conducting ourselves in a peaceful way sexually. What does that mean? It means to see the other person as a whole being, and to allow oneself to be seen and treated as a whole being. And this is where Binyamin is going to have the wounding and the healing. And that the whole energy of the world is dependent upon those energies being whole and compassionate. Right? By whole, we mean, again, seeing another being as not how this person can fill my lack. Right? But wow, I am in the presence of divine light, encased in a body of divine light. And I am that.
This is not what you were saying last night, I love so much about looking at the candles. And you're not allowed to make use of the candles.
Right.
I will offer to everybody.
So good.
Last year, as a result of these classes, Devorah Lebowitz created a magnet for all of you, really, because she didn't charge. This was a gift to all the women, with Hanukkah candles, and on it says something like, "These lights are holy. We're not for our use." It's just like it's a meditation. It's a magnet for your fridge. Remind me, I have a stack of them left from last year. And what does it feel like to relationship from wholeness, that I'm saying what I actually mean. Just feel that. I had that experience this week, saying what I meant and taking the time to balance it into compassion, a balance of truth and compassion, right? Kindness and truth. And we're going to notice in all of these parshas the splitting to the polarities and people and the journey into the wholeness, right? And it peaks it peaks. We'll get there as we get to these portions, right? But as the energy is moving up and down the ladder in Yaakov's dream, right? Up and down the ladder, say Chazal, is up and down our own spine, up and down our own various states of consciousness and energies. And everything that he's seen so far is polarized. Abraham is chesed, Yitzchak is gvura, right? And he's trying to be like, wow, is there a way to live with these energies in a whole way?
I just had a download. I just mad scientist wrote it down, so I don't know if it's gonna come out.
I
but,
love that scientist.
This idea of the light that we just said is like the light being just more consciousness, right? And I was asking about the flow of energy, whether it feels good or bad, that is light. And that is the practice of looking at the candles. It's the being with what is. It's actually the acceptance of the light as it is for what it is.
Go further. When
So
when do we do that? Every week?
Shabbat.
That's right.
So we're in the state of receptivity and beingness. So like Hanukkah is the Chag that like practices our ability to just be with the flow of life on life's terms. And that's when we're not consuming God for our own benefit, but we're just creating the samach, the receptacle to receive it as God wants to flow through us, rather than saying, I don't like the way the light's coming through here, but that's us trying to consume God through our own lack. So it's us interpersonally, but it's also the practicing of not doing that, not just between man and man, but like us and God. It's the reception of however consciousness wants to flow through without the labeling of the good and the bad. And then you're working with the imagination, which is a whole other thing,
Yes.
which is when we can either distort the way in which we're seeing the light come through as good or bad. So how do we heal the imaginative capacity to just receive the light for as, I don't even want to say goodness, but just,
Yes.
but ultimately, like the power of the imagination is that we can receive it as just goodness, even when maybe it's
Yes.
feeling not so great.
Yeah.
And then the last component of this is like you keep speaking about the wholeness. And when we basically cut ourselves off from receiving the light is when we go into fragmented states. We don't actually open up the vessel. So the returning of wholeness is actually the returning to being able to be like, it's all beauty. It all is beauty, and I'm going to receive it all. And that's this, and that's being like living in the peace. It's being our own Kohen, so to speak. It's like being able to be at peace with life because we're allowing for the totality of life to be received within us. That is to restore wholeness in relationship to consciousness, which could be any energy as it wants to present itself. So like Hanukkah is like the training for that experience always, and it comes right after Cheshvan because Cheshvan is the shedding of the things that blocked us from receiving the light to begin with.
Absolutely.
So we first go through the process
That's right.
of taking the fixed ways in which we say, I don't want this,
That's right.
and I'm blocking myself.
Or I
from it.
don't want to let it go.
I don't want, right, any ways of holding or fixing or constricting or blocking, we go through the shedding process. And then we can actually be in the place of, I just lost my train of thought, but you get obviously why. The next step would be like, now when I let go of all those things, I can actually just be with what is.
Yes.
And then it's like you build the tree of your consciousness from that place of potential and possibility. And that's why dreaming in Kislev
That's right.
is huge because you're actually opening yourself up to possibility beyond the fixed reality that you
that's
had
right.
come from before.
That's
And then that's like the bedrock on which your consciousness or your being gets to evolve in the next X amount of months.
yes.
And the purity of the dreams from that place instead of the grouping.
Right.
Mazel
Nice.
tov. That was a beautiful birth.
Sorry, I needed to get that out. I'm sorry, guys.
very good.
I'm happy. Sorry, thank you. It's like, okay.
So let's add from that, let's add a couple of more things to the map. So I mentioned as a joke, sort of like Thanksgiving, but what you mentioned, Hod, the main mitzvah of Hanukkah. This is really beautiful, right? There's just two fundamental mitzvahs of Hanukkah, and eating sufganiyot is not one of them. Sorry. I'm sorry, you could eat that. Right? The real, like, it's unprecedented. We don't have in any other holiday that we recite the full Hallel, the full Hallel, for 8 days. We have Pesach, we say Hallel, but it's not the full Hallel for the whole time. And by full, we want to also understand, because we did this a little bit last night, musically. When we say full Hallel, we mean the major keys. The light is expanded and the sound, which is the light, is coming through unobstructed. Those are the major keys. Anything that's opened, as in like key of C, key of B, key of, right?
And hollow is in nature,
Well,
no?
I mean, we can sing it however we want, but the
Yeah.
experience of Hallel and Hod and Hallel
Yeah.
is expansive, right? And the main mitzvah is, and again, we don't have this any other time of the year.
Right.
8 days of full, not diminished in any way, an outpouring of light flowing in us and through us. There's so much that we can't contain ourselves. It has to come out, right? So it's coming in so strong. We're like, thank you, because it's keeping the flow going. Because right, the only way we can release, well, that's not true. We have different ways of releasing excess energy, right? Sometimes people do it by anxiety. Sometimes people, right? So what's the most whole way of releasing excess energy, right? We call this tikkun hadibur, fixing speech, which Rabbi Nachman actually says is singing. And praying, but singing you're praying.
Fixes excess energy.
In other words, sometimes if we have excess energy, right, people go to addiction. They don't know what to do. Like they're filled with light. They don't know what to do with it. Blah, right? Bouncing off the wall, blah, 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 right? So he says, oh, use that energy for connection. Use that energy for deepening, widening. Ooh, now I know you on a whole other scale. Literally scale, right? Right? And this is that energy. And the Kohanim, remember, they're the right side. They are expansive. They are expansive. It's literally the expansive energy of love, right? So we really want to talk about, right, that specifically the 8 days of the Hodot Ulehalel. The Hodot, right? The Hodot Ulehalel, the Hodot Ulehalel, the Shimcha Hagado. It opens the channel. It makes the Samech. Thanking. So listen to this, okay? So the Hebrew word lehodot, to thank, is the same letters as huledet, to birth. Thinking and birthing is the same energy. You're receiving it, and you're holding it, and you're being with it, and you're allowing it to fill every part of you. And then that calls up something in you that you want to respond from wholeness. So you're like, and it's like, right? And it wakes up new parts of you, new things in you, and they want to sing and they want expression, and right? So you can feel the samech. And every day the samech is expanding. It starts out of the dot. By Zot Hanukkah, it's this. That's why it's miracles. Because when we're that open, anything is possible. right? A miracle means we shorten the time between connecting light and vessel, right? Somebody doesn't feel well, they need a refuah. If it happens immediately, we say that's a miracle, right? We closed the gap between the lack and the thing that can fill the lack.
And that happens
Right?
that way of bitachon.
Yeah, that's right. And this hod and the hod and the hallel is the expression of the bitachon, right? So a practice that I really encourage every year is begin now. Begin now if you like. Take a notebook, and when you're sitting by the candles and looking at the candles, have a gratitude notebook. And if it feels a little false in the beginning, that's okay. But like, oh, I'm grateful for my eyes. We are grateful for our eyes, but we take things for granted, right? It doesn't matter. It's like turning on a rusty sink. And maybe gook will come out in the beginning, but it doesn't matter. You're restoring flow.
The expression of what?
Is the expression it's Hallel. It's 8 days of Huledet. It's how we birth. And by the way, Rabbi Nachman, the Holy Masters teach us in physical, actual birth, a way to shorten the birth, lessen the suffering and the pain is instead of going, this is what happens. When we're in pain, we go this way. I can't. Oh, no. Right? And we're like, okay, breathe. Thank you for these contractions. Bring them more, intensify them, open me. I'm ready. I want this baby. I'm ready to receive it. And it can be the hardest work in the whole world. And I did a birth like that last year on, don't forget, on Yesod Shabbat Yesod. And it was so gorgeous. This woman was in the water in the pool, and myself, and there was another doula there. And this doula was saying to her, can you thank Hashem for the contractions and ask for more? And I'm a 25 years doula. And I was like, that's some holy chutzpah. And she did it. And she's in the water and she's like, thank you for the contractions. May I please have more? And I'm like, what am I watching? and Shabbos morning, I popped this little baby, right? And it's like, and of course that's miraculous because we're getting out of the way. It's the biggest miracle when we can get out of the way. And it has to do with what you were saying, Simcha Amuna, because you see the fixing of Binyamin, right? Is he goes from Ben Oni to Benjamin, right? Right? From consumptive to compassionate, right? In any story, if I'm looking for how is this going to benefit me? What am I going to get out of this? What am I going to get from this? Right? I'm setting myself up for the suffering. We don't like to hear that, but it's true, right? When I ask, what does the light want for me? Because and I have the bitachon that the light would never deprive me of something that I really need. The light would never work against me. The light would never work against me. And then I can put myself out there. If I'm received, I'm received. If I'm not received, I'm not received. Because what's driving the car isn't the ratzon lekabel atzmi, right? My desire for my version of reality to be confirmed. And if not, then I'll crumble and shatter and die. Right? It's going into and trusting the beauty, the perfection, right? That I'm in the middle of something very sensitive right now in my life, and that usually this issue in my life calls up crazy amounts of trauma fear for me, and now it's just mild amounts of trauma fear. But it's because I'm beginning to step into like. So if I have like a really big fear of rejection or abandonment, right? But I pour all kinds of light on that, then it's okay, I still have that fear of the rejection and abandonment. But holding that is like, I'll survive the rejection or the abandonment if that's the plan of the light, because I'm trusting the flow of the light. And I want to work with it and not against it. I know it's a tall order, but it's what we're doing. This is Geula. Now take the word galut and the word Geula, and the only difference is the aleph. I'm putting the aleph inside, the light, the breath. By the way, we'll do it. Rabbi Nachman has a whole meditation of breath work around the candles, expanding and allowing the breath, allowing light. By the way, in Hebrew, ol and avil is the same word, light and air, right? The only difference is it has an aleph in there in avil, right? Air is light, and light is air.
Is it the ultimate in receptivity that you permit it to happen by getting out of your own way, experiencing it, letting it flow, and then it happens of its own accord, and you are the vessel that experiences what is going on?
Yes. And sometimes we have to take action, you know. Yes, again, that's the masculine, that's an extreme feminine expression.
Right.
And there's a masculine expression where we have to step into something.
Is that the difference between the quote upper and deeper feminine? The upper feminine, the lower feminine, lower, deeper. I think it's, yeah.
It's touching on that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does the heart come into this?
The heart is the center for the connection
Of the light into the vessel.
of the light in the vessel, of the lower energies and the higher energies, of the masculine and the feminine. Where does everybody meet in the Torah? Where's the hot place to hang out if you want to shut off?
Well.
Well,
That's all.
what's the well? It's the heart, the center of your being. And it's the center of your emotions and your reaction.
And the liquid that's moving.
That's right. We might, another way we might call it is Be'eomilium. And another way we might call it is to remember Yaakov rolls off this huge stone from over the well. Right? We always meet our soulmate at the well, because the well is where the waters flow.
Also, the connection with the fun, like your heart needs to be open in order to be able to trust.
Yeah.
So there's a process of reopening the heart that re-initiates trust again, trust in self, other, the universe, God. When we're closed and blocked in the heart space, we often don't trust.
Yes. And we want to also say that Be'er, Bet al Fresh, is also the word for bari, to be whole and healthy. Be whole and healthy. If you want to meet your soulmate by the well, you show up, right? Bari.
When you were talking about the maze, the shortening of time between vessel and light,
Yes.
I was thinking about that. He said that our darkest is the darkest time with these moments when it comes at a time when you don't see it, you don't think it. And we were talking yesterday about planting seeds, dream seeds.
That's it.
And it's like they're as we follow and we don't necessarily see the revelation necessarily yet.
Yeah.
But it's like in the darkness when we're planting the seeds, and then there's some like shortening of time, but then and then the light starts.
And when else does time shorten? We spoke about this last night. In dreams.
Right.
You can have 70 years in 15 minutes. And we know this. When you're on a date and you're falling in love, 7 hours feels like 7 minutes. When you're in geometry class and 10th grade. Just kidding, Mrs. So-and-so. 7 minutes feels like 7 years. Right, but I'm saying it as a joke, but we know the expansive nature of time and space, that it has to actually do with our da'at, our presence, of how open we can be in space, or how closed we are, how resistant we are to what's happening, or how fully we're in flow. When we're in flow, right? Oh my gosh, what? We've been here how many hours?
Yeah.
Right? When we're in resistance, every second is torture.
Right. And the resistance is the labeling on what's happening.
This shouldn't be happening. I don't want it to be happening. It doesn't feel good. Make it go away. Make it stop. By the way, these are also the levels when we spoke about Nisyonot and tests, right? Tests, this is a different class, but when you listen to the recording, just remember this is an addendum. Sure, whatever. Okay. Our first reaction to test is usually make it stop. Just make it stop. Just fix it. That's the level of miracle that we want. Remember, nisayon and ness is the same word. When we're going for the quickness, right? We're like, can you just make it stop? I don't like this pain. It's uncomfortable. I don't want it. Make it go away. And that's the nest that we're hoping, right?
So yeah,
My ex-husband is a Broadway director and producer. And he wrote this incredible, there's like a Christmas play every year. So he wrote a Hanukkah play. It's called Miracles. And it was like, they raised millions of dollars to put it on. And then it just needed millions more. And what's his name? He's the man that wrote the lyrics for The Little Mermaid. He's so Sheldon Harnick. Anyway, he's like Disney's top writer. And the guy who wrote the book by book we mean the stage play for Fiddler on the Roof, right? So Sheldon Harnick and God, I'm forgetting the other guy's name. I'm so sorry. Okay. So they created a soundtrack for this Hanukkah show. And I'm the only person in the world besides my ex-husband who owns a copy of the soundtrack. But there is this song that is so mind-blowing. It's so mind-blowing that it was written for a Broadway play. It's like, it's the deepest tefillah I've ever heard in my whole life. And I'm going to butcher it because I haven't sung it in a long time, but it's something like, right? Listen to and this is Hanukkah, and it goes like this. If we can pray, but not as beggars, if we can pray, wait, but, hold on. I'll remember, but not something, if we can say, whatever happens, oh Lord, we're in thy hands. If we can pray when all seems hopeless, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. If we can say, whatever happens, oh Lord, thy will be done. If we can keep our faith, whatever lies in store, that's the miracle we're praying for. That's the miracle. That's the miracle. That's the miracle we're praying for. It's so profound to me that the miracle is to not lose our emunah. And just, right, it makes me cry. I cry every time I hear, I have goosebumps in my, right? And I'm like, oh God, somebody
We
please
need
give him the
this.
several million more dollars to put this show on.
We
What,
just
it
have to
doesn't
go.
need, it could be like amateur.
I know, but no, but his, you don't know my ex-husband. It's like, he's an Aries. It has to be like
Wow.
We need to sing this. How do we get
to
to?
sing it everywhere. I know. I'll ask him if he'll let
Let
me
us-
give you guys the recording.
Let
And it
us
was
sing
recorded by Broadway staff,
Oh, gosh.
right?
But that-
And
People just, if he goes out, people will.
that was
sing
his,
it.
and my father, that's Freudian. My ex-husband. Are revealing all my secrets. Oh, it's so good. So my ex-husband grew up in Crown Heights, as a Chabad chassid. And really like, it's like, really, this was his shlichus, right? To get these messages out into the world, but in a way that's like, right? It's just a Hanukkah show.
Wow.
What? I'm just taking my kids to Radio City Music Hall. And we're just gonna see a Hanukkah show, right? But every time I hear that song, I cry, right? Because that's the miracle. The miracle isn't getting the stuff.
Mm.
If we get the stuff, that's because the light knows that that's what's the best for us. The miracle is trusting the light and being in intimate trust and right.
It's being the sun, I so bad.
That's it, being inside the Samech. And remember, the Samech has an inner circle and an outer circle, right? Male kol almin, sovavim kol almin. I'm held in the inside circle, and I'm held in the surrounding light. We call that again the or pnimi, the inner light, and the or mekif, the holding light. And there's me in the middle. By the way, where do we see this? In the Mishkan. Again, the heart. Again, the heart center, right? The Aron. Gold on the inside. Gold as in wink, wink, or O-R-E. That was like the Incan name for light, right? Or gold. Gold on the inside. Gold on the outside. And living wood. Living, breathing wood, our body in the middle. And that's the space that holds the brokenness and the wholeness. The Aron. Wow. It's so beautiful, right? You have to hear this whole Broadway choir singing, right? Like this, right? If we can say whatever happens, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. I'm like, what are you doing to the universe, Danny? All these little kids are going to be like, right, with their like, recording is like, wow.
Hanukkah is just for us, but
She's the 7. She's like, we're putting on the show, Reva. Just stop.
Yeah.
We're getting the recording. We're putting on the show.
Actually,
then the Hanukkah is a Jewish holiday. It's just for us. But a song like that makes it for the world.
It is for the world.
It is for the world. I mean, it is. It becomes for the world when we do it right.
Remember that
Or
Hanukkah and
Let
Purim,
it happen right.
Hanukkah and Purim
Yeah.
are the two
But then-
experiences that will be left after enlightenment. Right? And they're for everybody. They're for everybody.
I knew this. And I'm going to share that, and then you can pass it around. That is a phenomenon that
sign.
sometimes
The
happens.
inner light and the outer
It's a
light.
very rare meteorological phenomenon. You'll see it's a circular rainbow. And sometimes one looks up and the light and the water and everything
Right.
is just perfect. And this happens. I saw it
Around the sun.
once.
It's around the sun.
It's around the sun. The
Yeah.
sun is always at the center.
I'm
of
going to
this
jump in and say
rainbow.
something else. Did you know what you
I'm
want to
sorry.
say?
Yeah.
No, I just felt like you could go just a little bit deeper in where we're holding, there's the light on the inside and there's a light on the outside, and we're held between those, like sandwiched between that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I was going to say that. Okay, so in Kabbalah and Tanya especially, we call it the Or Pnimi and the Or Mekif,
Right.
the inner lights and the surrounding lights. Okay, so let's see what we mean for a second by an inner light. first of all, an inner light is harder to see. Okay, so, and this is what we mean. An inner light, once upon a time, was a miracle. But we got so used to it that we stopped seeing it as a light. We'll say that again. Right? An inner light could be your husband sitting across from you at the breakfast table. Once upon a time, that was a dream. It was an outer light. It was even further beyond the horizon than an outer light. It wasn't, and the outer light is the realm of possibility. And it was beyond that. It was in the Or Ein Sof. It was held as a possibility, maybe in infinity. And you understand, you went through a birth. You moved that with Hashem from the Or Ein Sof into your Or Mekif, a surrounding light, that it was even something that could be possible for you, right? Through more and more and more work and unveiling and uncovering and opening and receiving and being with, until one day you stood under the Chet. That's the 8. That's the activation, where something that was only a dream is now landing in reality. And that journey is a journey from an Or Ein Sof to the Or Mekif to an Or Pnimi. The Chet is 8, right? And it's a Chopah, and it's the number 8. It's where dreams come true. Sorry, I sound like a Disney princess. Right? Right? And so part of our challenge is on Hanukkah is to look at all the Or Pnimi that once upon a time was a dream. Our children, look at our children. Once upon a time, that was a dream. Maybe I'll grow up one day and have children. It didn't have to happen. It's a miracle. By a miracle, it went through a Seder Hishtalshalut from Or Ein Sof to Or Mekif to, I actually have contact with this light when I want, right? I'm just kidding. Sometimes when they're teenagers, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, right? So part of the trick is, and this is actually a Torah that I heard from my beloved friend. I mean, we hardly ever see each other talk, but I just treasure and value her so much. Elisheva Mervis, who used to live in Tzfat. And she gave me this Torah last year, and she was like, part of the wholeness is to look at all the Or Pnimis and blow your mind over them. Right? What? I'm married? What? I have a house in Tzfat? What? I have children. Once upon a time, those were all dreams. A dream is the space between the Or Ein Sof and the Or Pnimi. That's why Yosef he's the master of dreams, right? And by the way, a Chalom is a dream. And where is Binyamin born? Where is he born?
On the way.
Where is he born? What's the name of the city? Yeah, but you're very close. Just Beit Lechem. Lechem, Chalom. You take a dream and you turn it into bread. Once upon a time, it's a dream. You plant a seed of wheat, and then it goes through a whole process, and it ends up on your table as a miracle of Rebecca's wheat-free, delicious, amazing carrot cake, right? But right, that's a miracle. 1,000 things could have gone off in that Seder Hishtalshalut, but it didn't. And that must mean it's so intentional. So when I'm right, so on this level, it's like, wow, I'm having a really hard time with one of my children right now, and blah blah blah. Okay, good. That's the human level. That's the downstairs, right? Riva, right? The upstairs Riva is like, oh my God, like Hashem saw into the depths of my heart how much I wanted children, and how much I wanted to shepherd other souls and give and learn how to do that, and learn about love, and learn a fierceness of love that I never thought was possible, and a resilience, and right, all of that. There you go. Right. So that's orpanimi. It means it's very difficult to say this, but you own it. It's in your sphere of consciousness, right?
Intimately known.
Yes, but like this
Mhm.
banana, this table, meaning Hashem has put it in your Dalet Amot for you to
Mhm.
relationship with. Now, how you gonna show up in that relationship? This has been put into my sphere to relationship with, right? Am I going to honor it? Am I going to thank it? Am I going to chas v'shalom something else? Right?
Mhm.
So it becomes a widen the circle. Wow, everything in this circle is put here for me to notice, to acknowledge, to give thanks for, to be in a humble, grateful, aware presence with, right? And that also means if Hashem takes something out of my circle, that's also intentional. Perhaps we're done. Or sometimes so crazy, ready for the craziest Rabbi Nachman Torah. I mean, I really mean the craziest. Rabbi Nachman says sometimes when there's ribui or there's too much light between people, Hashem has to separate the two souls because they're overwhelming each other's vessel. It's actually coming from love. And Hashem's like, no. And they're like, me, something, yeah, no. And it's love. There's too much love there, and it doesn't allow the full growth of each one.
Or the one's gonna
Or-
overpower the
It's
other one.
right. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I know about that. But
Yes.
it's good, there's no room for, it becomes the age. No, it becomes the consumptive age instead of the, yeah.
Even-
I'm
even-
enjoying your body
Right.
language.
Yeah.
reaction.
And
Like,
even from love. Yeah.
I can't do that anymore.
And even from love, it can be consumptive, right? But so see, remember he said he's going to rearrange the furniture in our mind. Okay,
Please, God.
right. So okay, imagine a scenario. So I met someone, and I'm gonna out myself so deeply here.
Out yourself.
I'm not outing
You don't
myself.
have to.
I'm not ready to out myself.
Um,
Right, but it's like situations are happening in our life, and if we see it as I could use this to activate my wounds. I could use this to prove right. I could use this situation to activate my wounds, right? See, I knew the world was da 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 da, whatever, right? Okay, or I could expand the circle and be like, if I am meant to relationship with this light, it will be brought into my circle. If I'm not, maybe our circles will touch for a moment and be like, okay, bye-bye. That was nice, whatever it is, right? It's just it's so powerful. So that's the or pnimi, that's the inner light. Now, another layer that we mean about inner light is that this is a light that we've earned, we've worked for, we have done this. It's all miracles. We can never earn a daughter or earn, right, our next breath. But Hashem loves us and he wants us to feel good about ourselves. He's like, you made your bed in the morning, so I'm going to give you some chocolate cake. Really, he wanted to give us chocolate cake anyway, but he wants us to grow that lovely feeling of capability, right?
It's really about being able to receive
Being able to receive it without shame. Without shame. Shame is the thing that makes us go, right? Right? Receive it with humbleness and like, when I can receive it without the shame, I can have reverence and blow my mind over it. That's how I can look at a Hanukkah candle, I can look at a human being and go, this is not a given. This conversation isn't a given, this class isn't a given, that I have such beautiful women to connect with and come out and teach, and it's not a given. None of this is a given. When we blow our minds over, none of this is a given. It didn't have to happen, and yet it did. Wow. Then we receive it minus the blocks, the guilt, the shame.
Like, I'm not doing it good enough. I'm not a good enough mother.
And Hashem's like, I trust you with the soul. Just do your best. You know?
And it goes the other way too. When there's pain or darkness, it's also part of the giving. It's also part of it, and to receive that with the equanimity. I think that was the word I was looking for.
You
I'm sorry.
listen to this. Okay.
Sorry.
So my teachers taught me that when you hop where the holy masters were going, you say, so I'm going to give it to you, you say the following words, Baruch
Baruch
Shekivanti.
Baruch Shekivandi.
Right. It means, wow, I can't believe I just was completely in line with what the holy master said. So I forgot to say, and it was in my notes,
Oh, okay.
that the holy masters say this, the main quality and fixing of this month is equanimity, called hishtavut in the language of hishtavus, to shiviti Hashem nemegdi tamid.
Wow.
Right? The way that the Baal Shem Tov would teach it is that whatever happens in my space, I'm not labeling it good or bad. This is from God, and this is from God, and this is from God, and that's from God, and this is from God, and this is for me to learn from, and this is for me to learn from, and this is for me to learn. And it's called hishtavut. And he would do it as a daily hishtavut, like shivui mishkal, like a shivui mishkal, a balanced scales.
And then to say Modehani in the face of it.
Yes,
Because that keeps you open.
so crazy. It's here in front of my face, and I forgot to look at it. Yeah, and it is exactly, and that is brought down from Reb Ginsburg, but it's Chabad Hasidus that Kislev is hishtavut, right? It's you can, and again, because it's going to tie into the wholeness and the peaceful mind.
So nice. It was the third month, which is 1,000,000%
has the Tiferet in there. Yeah. But he says that, oh, by the way, it's such a crazy teaching, and maybe we'll end with this, and we'll maybe do some meditation or question answers, but I don't know. But I love this. This is from an Aryeh Kaplan book, I think, Inner Space. But he says there was there was always a Baal Shem. The Baal Shem Tov is one Baal Shem, but the Baal Shem was like the head of the secret mystical Chabura, right? Meeting group. So there was a disciple that once came to a particular Chabura with a Baal Shem, not the Baal Shem Tov, a Baal Shem, and asked to be included into the Chabura. So it was like, oh, do you know Chumash? Do you know Tanakh? Do you know Halacha? Do you know Gemara? Do you know, it's like V, right? Okay. And then he said to him, what is your response, my son, when somebody praises you? And he said, I feel joy. He said, and what is your response, my son, when somebody insults you? And he said, I feel pain or anger. He said, you're not ready. That's such a crazy teaching. Right? Hishtavut is the outside circumstances don't keep throwing me out of the circle.
Wow.
I'm held in the circle.
Wow.
I'm held in the circle I'm held in the circle of light. If they want me, if they don't want me, sometimes something is reflecting where I need to come back into wholeness, but it's not going to define my worth and my value. That thank you so much, right, for the hishtavut of whatever is coming at me. Whatever is coming at me, my first response is, it's crazy, right? I'm going to say something crazy now, okay? Thank you, light.
As opposed to what you said before, the Nisayon, so just make it go away. So
That's
say the nest is to be in balance.
Right. The nest is, if we can keep our faith, whatever lies in store, that's the miracle we're praying for. Right? I could keep my balance. And I notice how many times a day I'm thrown off my balance from, it's always outer circumstances. Someone said something, didn't say something, did something, didn't do something, wanted me, didn't want me, blah, blah. Right, it's like blah, right? But okay, just as a meditative practice, perhaps we can take this on all of us for the month of Kislev, whatever comes into our space. Thank you, light. 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 Right, but thank you, light. Yeah, this is what is. It's it's and honestly, for real, when that becomes an orpni me, Geula will be here. That is what all the holy masters say. When that switch of our mind and consciousness is embedded in us, that we're not practicing it, but it's our nature, then that's Geula.
That is Yerushalayim, that's the wholeness, and that's the fixing of Yavan, which is all these hierarchical things where you're judging. This is higher, this is lower.
Wait, please, because this is so, don't miss this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just.
Did you hear what she said about
going
Yavan?
full circle.
It's all linear.
Yeah, it's all hierarchical, which
Hierarchy.
means that there's something better, something worse, and it's
Wow.
judgment.
Right,
and it's
right,
like-
right.
It's moving, Geula is moving from a place of hierarchy to coming into the circle, where we're whole. And so if we could just step into it. now.
Just.
Well, that's the job.
Man, right?
Which is why when she said upper and lower feminine, my brain said deeper feminine. It wasn't lower feminine, like I'm under it.
Or maybe
It's
whole or
Deeper. It's like more.
Right.
The longer you.
Yeah.
Longer you.
Yes.
This is better than this, is better than this, is better than
This
this.
is longer, this is longer, this is higher, this is shorter.
Yeah, but there's structure.
So good.
Yeah, but it's like we attach to the structure. We have to detach from the structure. Because the structure's there. But I had a question. Where's the cover of the Ishtamzu? Gamzu, it's here, right?
It's here.
It's here, and it's like, that's what I was thinking. It's like, ooh, it's around the corner and up the hill or something.
It's yeah, it's in the south of the spot. It's
Okay.
near the hospital for mental health, right next to,
Well, that sounds about right.
right around, yeah, it's
Yes.
crazy. Okay,
Are we supposed to
questions
see
and
that?
answers.
Yeah, we supposed to see
No,
that
that
last
is
week in front of Sion as like also the Sama, like why
yeah.
Sadiq here?
Oh, why Sadiq? Who's called Sadiq?
Yosef.
Hmm. Wow. And here he is, the dreamer, the relationshiper, the whole relationshiper. He's like, I'm not doing no fractured relationship with like Mrs. Potiphar. I want whole and honoring. I'm not gonna like, right? I'm not gonna give up my peace of mind and my wholeness for 5 seconds of like something to fill the loneliness or whatever, right? He's like, no. He's the rainbow coat. Rainbow. He's the it's white.
That holds all the colors.
All the
spectrum.
colors,
The
all
whole
the
spectrum.
wholeness, the whole spectrum. I mean,
It was-
we could.
I
I know. I know you're like drunk. It's like,
Did you see in that picture? Inside the rainbow is darker, the sky is darker, and the outside it's lighter.
can you share that with the chat?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
I passed it.
No, but share it
Did
with
you
the
see
chat.
I don't know how. Can somebody share it off my machine in chat or put it off of somewhere because it's like
I only have access to one of the chats. Sometimes only
This one, I don't know how to do it. You can look, you
send it to, if you want to send it to me, I'll send it to
How do
one of the chats. Wow.
So, you know, I'll finish with the, you know this. I think this is a rainbow song. You know rainbow songs, right? We are opening up in deep surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening up in deep surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening up in deep surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening up in deep surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up. It's like the Hanukkah song. Opening up in deep surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening up in deep surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening.
It's around.
Oh, yes, it is.
Like a
Sorry about
song.
Yes, I'm realizing it works as a round.
Okay, questions and answers, anybody, before we
Thank you so much.
pack up?
An invitation to a full moon concert, circle, workshop, and maybe you'll teach.
When, where, what?
Full moon
Hello,
Kislev.
hello, yes?
Hi, Riva.
Hi, oh my gosh,
Full
hi,
moon of
Viva.
Kislev. Are you busy? I don't know, I think I might follow
I will
on a
check my
Wednesday or
banana.
Thursday.
No, I think I'm available.
Yeah, I want to bring my friends to do a concert and I'll do a workshop. Maybe we'll combine and be like kind of like a seminar sort of thing, sort of.
Thank you, Zoom family. I love you.
Be in touch with me.
Okay, so 1 second.
Well,